everyone, and welcome to the PropCast. My name is Louisa Dickens, co-founder of Ella Re and board director of the UKPA, and I shall be your weekly host. Each week for 30 minutes, we'll be connecting the VCs, PropTech startups, and real estate professionals globally, and assist in bridging that famous communication gap we all love talking about. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi everyone, and welcome to the PropCast. Today's episode will be on first generation PropTech and acquisitions. And today we're joined by Andy, Kean and Scott Gabor from CoStar. So welcome guys.
Thank you, Louisa. Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
And also a special shout out to Scott, because apparently it's his birthday today. So
thank you. Yeah.
Okay, let me give you guys some introduction. So Andy is the director and head of UK sales. Andy's been with CoStar for around 12 years, and he started originally in research in 2009, working from their Glasgow office, which you will be able to tell from his accent, it's slightly different to Scott's. Then moving to join the sales function in London in 2010. These days, Andy's responsible for over 30 sales professionals, and that must be pretty chaotic, and also manages driving UK revenue and customer success. Prior to joining CoStar, Andy was a commercial surveyor in the Glasgow market. So welcome to the show, Andy. And time for birthday boys introduction. Scott, who's joining us today, is the UK regional sales director and has been with CoStar just a tad longer than Andy, coming up to nearly 15 years under his belt. So CoStar must be doing something right to keep their team within the business this amount of time. Scott, which you'll be able to have his accent, is not from the UK and has spent the first 12 years of his time at CoStar in the Washington, DC office. Scott has held various sales and leadership roles with clients spanning most of the US. And today, Scott oversees the team that looks after CoStar's clients in Southwest, Midlands, Northwest, and Yorkshire. Everyone who's listening, most of you are all from, I guess, from the real estate innovation space. But for those who are listening from outside sector, CoStar is one of the first PropTech and real estate data companies out there, and known by quite a few as the world leader in commercial real estate information, analytics, and marketplaces. So definitely check out the website. And they've impressively tracked more than 6.2 million commercial properties across all asset classes. And they give their customers a detailed view of transactions, market trends, and key performance indicators at the micro as well as macro level. So yet again, welcome Andy and Scott. Why don't we start with letting the audience know how you first sort of got into it, and also how does it feel to be part of one of the pioneers of PropTech? I actually, when I was last in the States, I went into Metaprop's office and they have a timeline of PropTech, and CoStar's at the very beginning of it. So Andy, why don't you go first? What you obviously started in the surveying space, and what led you to your role now, and maybe also your role's changed. So you went from, commercial surveyor to research to now sales. How did that happen?
Sure. Well, I'm happy to tell you. And just to make it very clear, although CoStar's a pioneer of PropTech, I sadly wasn't there at the start, but I've certainly been there for enough years to really give you a good grip on what the company's all about. But we back in 2000, I graduated in 2006 and joined a niche surveying practice in Glasgow. 3 partners, one did investment, one did valuation, one did agency. Got a really great kind of very steep but great learning curve for a few years there working as a surveyor. And of course the GFC happened and lots of us surveyors got kind of moved on. And but at the same time, CoStar was hiring in Glasgow. They'd acquired a company called Scottish Property Network, which all the surveyors used to market their properties and look for data. And it was a really good fit for the CoStar model. And we decided to base our UK research in Glasgow. So I joined as a researcher initially, and before long kind of moved into a role where we started up the first investment comps team for tracking all the investment activity in the UK. So it kind of started there. And with that role, I came down to London on a few trips and things, and met with some clients and various other things. Went to events and met the sales director, and was basically offered an opportunity to move down in a sales capacity to manage one of the London books of business, which I was really up for, really excited about. And moved down and worked as an account manager for the first few years and did really well. Had great time, meeting with clients and cutting about Mayfair like I was the real deal, and completely delusional. But it was great fun. Made some great relationships with, and at last today, with a lot of the market participants. So I had a great time there. Moved into a management role after a few years, and I've gradually moved around different parts of the business. One part of the sales force, I should say. One role I had was looking after our major accounts, so the top 8 brokerage firms, and during a really pivotal time for CoStar as we launched the actual CoStar platform in the UK for the first time, which was replacing the legacy products of Focus Information and Scottish Property Network and the like. So that was a huge period in CoStar's growth in the UK, and I was really excited to be part of. And now, for the last almost 3 years, I've been running the UK sales team.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on all your success and also progress. After we've heard about sort of Scott's journey, I'd love to hear from both of you a little bit more about, because obviously lots of our listeners are looking to get into this space and wondering a bit more about the role. So after Scott's intro, it would be great to hear about, what do you need to be a research person? What does account management mean? What about customer success? So maybe you can give a little bit more tips on that, Andy. But
sure.
Scott, tell us, move from the US to rainy UK. Why was that? Tell us about your journey.
Yeah. First, thank you for the birthday wishes and having us on today. I actually was in the recruiting space, something near and dear to your heart. And I placed somebody at CoStar who's in the finance firm, who's still working there today. And that was my first introduction to the CoStar group. And I found myself maybe a little dissatisfied with the position I was in. And I had worked with a bunch of companies in DC and knew HR, as we would say, or HR, as you would say, people all over the business. And I said, of all the companies that I had worked with, who would I want to go work for? And CoStar was the top of my list. And luckily, they had fond thoughts of me as well. And so that was how I ended up at CoStar in commercial real estate. I had really no exposure to the space before then. And I started as an inside sales rep in our DC, it was at the time Bethesda headquarters. And then I've just worked my way up through the organization since then. And a few years back, I was approached to see if I would be open to relocating to the UK and helping grow our team out in the regions. And it was an opportunity that my wife and I didn't think we could pass up, getting a chance to live in Europe. Little did we know we'd spend most of the time in our flat, but it was something that we wanted to do, and it's been fabulous. It's been a really great experience, and CoStar has been a great place for me to grow my career. I've had numerous different jobs, and I've gotten to see a whole lot of the world and interact with CoStar clients from Hawaii to Portland, Maine, in the States, and everywhere and all over the United Kingdom as well. It's been a really great place for me.
Yeah, so it's obviously clear from listening to both of you that CoStar offers various different opportunities for its massive platform. Andy, could you elaborate a little bit more on what sort of, see, there's a clear route. You just spoke about research to probably research associate to account manager to then the opportunities within sales. What sort of skills do you need? Have you got any advice for our audience because this seems quite often when I speak to people, I recommend rather than going, straight into an early stage startup, which to be honest, they might be completely out their depth and not quite ready for. I often say for them to go into a larger, more established company like CoStar or the big software companies, you can give that structure, training. What sort of skills are you looking for some of these roles? And Scott, you probably have you can sort of elaborate on that as well, because I reckon you see it from a different angle.
Well, for me, I think there's a variety of skills that can work at CoStar. I think there's a few essentials that I would say are probably the same in any company that's got real growth ambitions. And don't forget, CoStar. I mean, when I joined, I think the share price was something like, goodness, about $60 a share, and it's soared ever since. We are still a growth business. We are, we're not certainly not reached our capacity in any form. And I think part of that, the reason I mention that is that what struck me when I first joined, and this is in the Glasgow office where we were in a fairly kind of, let's say, a secondary office building in the centre of Glasgow, but with a massive floor plate. We had over 100 researchers all sitting on the same floor, and
Jesus.
Everyone was. What struck me was the attitude and the positivity, and everyone feeling like they were all contributing to the overall vision of the business, which was astonishing. It was amazing. It was infectious. So I think if you've got, attitude is so important, and work ethic and all those things that come along with being successful anyway, really. But I think if you have that, I had a passion for real estate. And technology was a kind of personal passion of mine. So I bought into it straight away. And I think when you see people come in and get on board with it immediately, often they come from the industry because they've seen maybe the inefficiencies that they've maybe had to deal with in a previous role. But equally, a lot of the people who have done well in sales have actually come from the research team. We have another guy in the team who's been here just as long as I have, and been one of our most successful salespeople for 10 years. And you've got the attitude is one thing. The work ethic, it's very much a meritocracy, and I believe any growth business should be a meritocracy. You get out what you put in, and that mantra it trickles down from the very top. And wherever you go in CoStar, whichever department you speak to, everyone has a part to play in the success of the business. And a big focus that we've had in the last few years has been around the client and making sure that just because you're not in sales doesn't mean you're not impacting client service. And there's a real mantra around the company about being very, very client focused. And again, that is obviously something that's going to bode well for any company starting up in the service sector. So that to me, I mean, you could go down the road of speaking about certain skills, but I think a lot of the skills you learn in the job, if you've got the right attitude and intelligence and curiosity and drive, then you'll generally do very well at CoStar.
Yeah. Scott, what about you? Any sort of tips in terms of people looking to move into this sector, and also you've obviously been predominantly in sales. So what skills or where do you look for when you hire your team as well?
Yeah, I think you want people who are innately curious. As a business that's always growing, there's always new things coming in, and so you've got to have people who are happy to learn and to acquire new skills and understand new verticals. So when I started with CoStar, we were primarily office, industrial, retail. And since that time we've added multifamily in the United States and hospitality globally, and so there's just always new things, and so you need to have a curiosity. And there's that phrase, and I can't believe I'm going to utter it literally publicly for it to be recorded, but fast-paced. So I have been accused of being a busybody most of my life, and CoStar really plays well into that. We have a really fast pace. We move really quickly. We're always growing and expanding and doing new things, and so that's always worked well for me. It's something I've enjoyed, and I've been able to leverage that for my own career. So I would say those are things that I would recommend. And the last piece is competitiveness. We want to be the best at what we do at CoStar, which is fantastic as a salesperson. When you know that you've got the weight of the rest of the organization behind you trying to produce the best products, like it makes it a lot better to go out and sell those and service them for your customers. And that is something I think that I've seen in the people who have worked for me who have been successful is competitive drive.
Yeah. Well, I guess, okay, so say they've got those skills. What's this market's becoming ever saturated? Well, we're still not quite saturated, but obviously you're seeing a lot more commercial data companies coming into space. What are CoStar's USPs other than obviously being the first mover, having a huge amount of data, having obviously a developed business? Andy, maybe you can go first in this one.
Sure. I mean, our main USPs are really data, technology, and I'd say investment in people. We've if you think of the CoStar platform and its origins, I guess I think it was very much a data and technology solution, but to make it the success it's been has been through a lot of hard work in terms of selling. We have to sell our product on the value that it brings to our client base and the ways that we can help them, and that's a very consultative sale, particularly in an industry which people are always saying it's way behind other sectors in terms of technology adoption. That's really not the case anymore. It's caught up in a big way, but there's an education that's required and has been required along the way to try and illuminate what those time savings and efficiencies and business development opportunities exist within the platform to our client base. And I think when you can look at it in different ways, but originally, certainly in the UK, the core client base that we had here was very much the agency community. And over the years, we've seen massive growth in other parts of the industry that play a significant role in the built environment. So it's the owners, the investors, the lenders, the planners, that various different forms within the real estate industry all have a need for CoStar because we've built it in a way that's very broad. So, no one user of Microsoft Excel uses, the average user uses about 8% of its functionality. You still use Excel because it gives you value for what you need. And, with CoStar, we have a whole suite of functionality within it. No one user uses everything, but more increasingly, our users are getting value from different areas they maybe didn't foresee in the past. So I think it's the USPs, the data is everything. If you could build the nicest tool and the best technology, but if the data's not there to back it up, it's kind of rendered meaningless. So that's kind of why we've invested massively in that over the years. Getting the data right and not just relying on one source of data. Like we've got a massive research house, of course, that do many things. One of the duties is to call up the agency community, build relationships, and collect a lot of information that way. It's free for the agents to list their properties on CoStar, for example, so they know it's going to be seen by the agency community, the professional community. So there's an incentive there to share that information. But equally, we don't stop there. We look at over a dozen sources of information where we can get rich information that our clients need. So whether it's a land registry, planning information, and so on. So the idea is that we're going to save our clients a huge amount of time because they don't have to go to disparate sources to gather that data. It's all in one place. So there's a real emphasis behind that, but the research team is made up of lots of different things. We have a team that they trawl the land registry for all of the lease information that's registered, and
sounds fun.
Well, I tell you, thank goodness the windows don't open on the 26th floor of the Shard because it's a tough job. But but I tell you what, it doesn't show. There's an amazing team we've got there doing that, and they digitize all of that rich information. That is very hard to get and time consuming to get. And that approach is symptomatic across the group. We operate in the same way here as we do in the States. We have a field research team who are out there tracking the market. But in addition to that, occasionally they'll do a project like an inventory project of a market where there'll be like Pac-Man going around the streets and collecting all the building data, the agency boards and the owners and the tenants and so on. But more recently, we've been focusing massively on visual content, and they're all trained, qualified drone pilots. They have the best photography equipment that money can buy, and they are proper architectural photographers. So we are enhancing the visual content within the platform at a time when that is needed to accelerate based on what's happened last year. Virtual tours and Matterports and all the other technology that we can utilize to provide additional value for clients. So the data is, the research piece, I suppose, is all encompassing. It's not just calling up agents, it's everything. We pull in third-party data now to supplement what we gather ourselves. So there's a huge amount of investment that goes into that to produce the product we have today.
What you said about your users only using about sort of 15% of Excel, I think I would probably use even less than that. I seriously need to work on that. But
Scott can give you some great tuition on pivot tables. I tell you, he's a pivot master.
Oh, beautiful. I look forward to it.
Many years as a sales manager, you learn Excel.
Thank God we didn't have to use Excel for recruitment. Okay, now Scott, you've worked in two different markets, the US, the UK market. How would you say the market's matured? You compete against our real estate data companies. What have you sort of seen over your nearly 15 years of experience in the industry?
I guess in terms of how products are placed in the marketplace.
Yeah, how they're sort of developing. And you sort of elaborated on your sort of USPs, but what have you seen in terms of growth of this sector?
I mean, I think the probably the biggest area of growth that I've seen has been in, real estate is a lot of people are office agents or they're do retail or they'll specialize in hospitality, but it's the integration of all of those different things and how they play against each other. And I remember when we first started digging into, the multifamily space in the US, you suddenly realize that, that office block that's being built, that's gonna affect what's gonna happen with the apartments and the rents that are there. And so the different play on each of the different sectors on each other and how it is like an ecosystem. I mean, it's like, it's like a fish tank where, you've got certain fish that are going to serve different roles, and the properties in commercial real estate aren't all that different. That they all play off of each other, and so it's kind of being able to and needing to see what's happening in all the different spaces at the same time. I think is really valuable. It's also the amount of data and the ease of the technology to allow you to get to information has just changed so vastly since when I started, right? The ability to, having a forecast 15 years ago was, people did it, but it was like every quarter, maybe something would come out and you'd be able to read someone's paper on it for a specific submarket, whereas today you can go into the CoStar platform and you can, draw any shape you want on a map and cover any set of properties. And then, 10 seconds have a forecast for the next 5 years about what we think is going to happen in a bunch of the different metrics that we might measure. And like that leap of technology has really been astonishing. It is something that when I think back to what we used to be able to do compared to what we can do today, it's mind-boggling. It makes me feel old. It's appropriate to say that on my birthday. So, but it is, that's probably the biggest piece I would look at.
I'd second that as well. I think that the investment in software development is, second to none. We've got over 600 software developers, and I'd say to any kind of young prop techs out there, often they'll start with outsourcing their tech, the building of that and their platform and everything else. But certainly I've heard from many others in the market that the sooner you can bring that in-house, the better, and really kick on from there, because you control everything and can really work it. And that's certain. I think Andy Florence, our CEO and founder, he did all of that himself when it all started, but it's changed days now. You need pace, and sometimes to get that pace initially, you outsource it. But then whenever you get that opportunity to bring it in-house, you should.
I also, one other thing is digital marketing, and it's probably something we take for granted, but 15 years ago, no one really thought about putting things online for the world to see, right? Like there was still print advertising that dominated things. And I remember, when I was a new sales rep, and you'd walk around town looking for letting boards and things of that nature. Whereas now, like everything is online. Like any building that is trying to be let or sold is going to have some sort of online presence. And that change happened fast, and it happened dramatically. And that is, I think that is, another huge shift, since I've been with the company. And I think that's, been a shift probably for every industry. But obviously in real estate, I think it's, pretty dramatic as well.
Position yourself to thrive with a 5-week course that covers the essentials of designing, developing, marketing, and operating offices in 2021 and beyond. Check out the Future-Proof Office course at realinnovationacademy.com. Quote LMRE for a 10% discount.
Since both your times in sales, lots of people that I speak with say, obviously, I'm actually kind of sick and tired of people saying the real estate industry is archaic. I mean, we all sort of know it's slightly slow moving, but Have you developed any good sales techniques of how to sort of upsell a product into an old school real estate company? Obviously, CoStar has an infinite amount of clients, which lots of businesses would dream of having. But any challenges you've come across in your career when you're trying to get people to use your product correctly or use it in the first place? Maybe Annie, you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, there's various kind of obstacles you come across along the way. I think what we've learned is that, you know, if you're selling to a business, you need to understand the customer. You need to understand their business. You need to have a really good to that word curiosity again. You need to go have a really good discovery with that customer and understand how they operate. Just because they're a niche retail agent doesn't mean you automatically know how they're going to use CoStar. And not only that, you know, the culture, I guess, or the traditionally you would see a typical surveying practice have the senior guys kind of delegate that type of activity to the junior people in the team. That is definitely changing. And actually last year we saw an acceleration of the partner level people, director level people within these businesses using the platform, because of course a lot of the junior folk were on furlough and the business had to keep moving and they had to know what was going on in the market. So that was quite an interesting thing that popped up last year. But when you're selling into a company like that, you need to understand the use case, how and understand the users and how they currently operate. What are you currently using? How long is it taking you to do that? Try and quantify the pain points that you uncover. And then it's crucial that the senior team, the decision makers in that business, understand that and you articulate well the ways in which we're going to help the business become more effective, efficient, and grow. So it's really around that, and then it doesn't stop at the sale. It really just begins at the sale. Onboarding that client is imperative you get that right, and you are there. You're there regularly. One of the reasons we have a big sales force is that we want to support our client base. You know, there's unlimited training with CoStar because it is a vast platform. You can, you know, there's almost I can't think of really any client training session I've ever been on, either conducted myself or supporting one of my team, where we haven't learned something about how the platform can benefit that individual, because we don't know everything about what they do before we get in the room. So, and there's always something they don't know about the platform. They could be a super user, but there's something else that they could be benefiting from. So it's that's a never-ending process. You can't you know, if there's ever been your cancel risk goes way up if you don't service well. And you've got to be there. You've got to be present with the user group. You've got to be communicating to the senior group at all times.
Yeah, I love the term super user.
We love our super users.
It always makes me laugh, like the term rock star. I got into like a little LinkedIn, well, I'd say like argument, just taking the mickey out of someone using it, and I was like, fine, should we use the word superstar? It's just a ridiculous expression, but we are all guilty of saying it at one point.
It's amazing the things I've caught myself saying.
I know, it's cringeworthy. Well, at least you don't record a podcast every other week, so you have to listen to yourself back.
So glad this hasn't been recorded.
Yeah. Okay, now let's go into a question about bit of M&A. So CoStar, in all the years, I think it's for like 33 years been going, you've made about 30 acquisitions and also pulled out of some acquisitions like CoreLogic, which was earlier on this month. Scott, why don't you talk us through, you know, what do these acquisitions mean for the business? How does it complement it? And then I've got a question about, and either you can answer this, it's about it's a cultural question. So obviously whenever any business expands, whenever any business merges, there's you got the challenge of maintaining your culture and keeping everyone happy. But why don't we start, Scott, with a bit more about what do these acquisitions mean to you and CoStar?
Yeah. So you know, we are constantly acquiring companies, which is really exciting as an employee. Like, it just creates new opportunities. But I think whenever we're looking to buy a business, we're usually looking at it in kind of adding three things to our current business. So one is data. You know, is there some sort of data that we're going to be able to add for our clients that they'll benefit from? Another one is technology. Is there something that business is doing technologically that we think, again, will enhance what we're doing? And then the last piece is people. Is there are there some, great minds, over at that other organization that are going to, again, enhance what we do for our clients. And, through the years, we've had many, I've been through not all 30 of those, but I've been through dozens of those acquisitions. And usually it creates great opportunities for salespeople. Like, it's always fantastic for your customer base and your prospect base grows overnight. And, not only do you get new people to go sell to, but then you also are going to be able to provide more value to your existing customers. And that is, really satisfying when you've had people who you've worked for years who were like, oh, I wish CoStar did this. And then, there's always that day you get your term and you go, guess what? We do it now. Log in and it's just going to be there for you, which a lot of our clients are going to experience in a few weeks' time. I don't know when this will come out, but with some hospitality information, and it's really great in terms of culture. Like, CoStar is a bit of a melting pot, right? We have our core culture, but as we bring in different organizations, like we do change in some ways with them, and we're never afraid to change. I think our CEO, I've heard him say, Andy has talked about, like, if you're always changing, then you'll never fear change. And I think that is, a piece of what we have, which is, as new things come in, you get new minds and new ideas. And, it's been great. There was in 2015, we acquired apartments.com. And my team went from managing the team that just had CoStar to having the CoStar and apartments team. And there were very different industries that service their customers in very different ways. And, we had different clients, and it was a good eye-opening experience. But what was just fantastic is that we kind of buckled down. We worked as a team. We relied on each other's strengths and helped with where weaknesses were. And, the company really, really flourished during that time, and we capitalized very well on that acquisition. And, we provided great information to our existing clients, and then we won a bunch of new clients as well. And it was fantastic. And, I'm seeing similar things with the STR acquisition today. I'm in regular contact with my peers here in the UK on that side of the house. And, we're collaborating and cross-referencing and teaching each other stuff. And, it's really fantastic. I don't ever view it as there's challenges to it, but it's always so worth it, because first of all, you get new people. And part of the reason I've been at CoStar for so long is because of the people. Yeah. And so we get all these new peers that we get to interact with. You get new clients, you get to learn new things, like, what's RevPAR and stuff like that. And so it's that piece that we talked about earlier, the curiosity and the desire to learn and to grow. Acquisitions kind of force that upon you in the best way possible.
Yeah. And Andy, what's your experience been of some of these acquisitions and keeping, you manage a team of 30 plus people, which I'm sure some of that's come about through maybe some of the acquisitions. How have you maintained like the culture and, I guess, a good equilibrium in your team?
Well, it's a good question. I think very much in line with what Scott said. I think some of the larger acquisitions have been certainly at their onset US focused, but there's other acquisitions like STR, which is a global solution. We work very closely with the STR team. The Reala business in the UK that we acquired, that just wasn't something that was just swallowed into the big CoStar machine at all. It's something that's really been put turbo boosters on it, and it's been a massive success over the first real push to the market over the course of 2020. And also the technology that Reala exhibited in their platform has actually been rolled out elsewhere in the company. So it's been something we've really admired about the company and expanded across the group, which is, again, to Scott's point, one of the reasons we look at companies with something really special. So some of the Reala team are working within my team right now, and we've gelled really, really well. And there's a real collaborative atmosphere at CoStar, and even at times when we're all sitting in our bedrooms, it's still that way. And everyone wants the success and the growth for the business. And when an acquisition's made, everyone wants it to work and gel really well. And there's so many parties involved. If you think about the current project we're working on at the moment, one of many, in fact, STR hospitality data is just about to get released into the platform. As staff, we got that released yesterday, and it looks phenomenal. But there's so many people have been involved in getting to this point, from our software development team, the Salesforce and STR, the Salesforce and CoStar, looking at all the clients that we have, the duplicative clients, the clients that we work with independently, and so on. And it's just a huge amount of work and effort that goes into it. But to see it all come to fruition in the product now is just it's hugely exciting. And I think, to Scott's point about, we talked about the skills and the attributes that we look for in people, adaptability is definitely one of them. We might be quite a large, maybe the largest PropTech firm now, but we are still extremely agile, and we pivot a lot to what's happening in the market. And just last year, in fact, with the push with Reala, exhibited that. And in addition, we've had a lot of clients tell us over the years that, you've got analytics. I don't need analytics for my job. That's not what I do. And my clients never ask me for analytics. But when you actually get under the skin a little bit and you spend some time with those people and find out understand if they are, if they ever need to just find out what the vacancy rate is in Marylebone, would that be useful to them to find that in a couple of minutes? Well, actually, yes, it would be. Or there's market commentary that they could benefit from, or whatever it might be. Suddenly, analytics becomes something that's very valuable to them. And what we did in 2020 was we used a lot of good data from Oxford Economics, coupled with our own, and our analysts were able to churn out amazing reports and forecasting, which had the kind of scenario-based economic forecasting for every market you look at in the UK. So you could say, well, what if there was a severe downside? What if there was a moderate upside, and so on? And that was an innovation that came from the market conditions and everything that was going on last year. So this just demonstrates how we can kind of pivot like that. And I think it's really integral for any business to stick with your core ideas, but be able to bend and move off slightly when you need to achieve the success that you want.
Well, that sort of offers a little bit about my next question, like any sort of tips of people looking to move into this space. I mean, you sort of elaborate on what sort of skills people need and what sort of CoStar looks for. I'm conscious of time, and Scott probably wants to go celebrate his birthday, but so whatever he's going to do in his flat. But let's go to the final part, the LMRE part. So let's go with L. So lessons you have learned in your career. Scott, you shoot.
Yeah, I for those of you who know me, I'm a graduate of the Ohio State University, which is a great institution. And one of our most famous American football coaches was a guy named Woody Hayes. And he always said, you win with people. And I think that, a lot of what he said was true, but that is a huge point. And the lessons, like the team that you have working, with you and for you as a manager, are like the most important thing that you've got. And so I would tell anybody that's a lesson like that is, it starts there.
And Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched upon one of the pieces, which was really understand your customers. That was a big part, but I also think about, and what else, right? And that question, and what else? I've found that I use that more now than ever, and it's hugely valuable. One situation you would use it is when you're in that discovery phase with the potential client. You're asking them you think you've got a really good open question to find out something about their business. They give you an answer, and not stopping there, probing for more, and what else, and get them to really open up, and they'll tell you so much about their business in ways that they didn't realize they were challenged, that you might be able to help with. And then also with your people, coaching them well, finding out what's on their mind, what's preventing them from success, and just asking that question, and what else. It could be, what else can I help you with, or what else is getting to you? Things like that are really just keeps the conversation going and gets people to open up.
Yeah, I think that's such an important thing that you just said. It's just having people or hiring people who are inquisitive. See, that it's the best way of learning, just asking questions and absorbing information. But frustratingly, can't really teach that. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but it's so difficult. It's something which I know I definitely look for when we're hiring as well. We got to find out what makes people tick. What are people's problems? Whether it's like a problem within their building and their data, or for us, it's, what is someone not happy with their job or their team. It's just, inquisitive is such an important thing to have in someone. Okay, we're at this is a chance for both of you to give a shout out to anyone or a product or service, ideally not CoStar related. Scott, why don't you go first?
Oh, I had one in my head was CoStar related. So
you can go for it. It's your birthday. You get.
Thank you. I was just, I was going to say our software developers, because they're probably a lot behind the scenes, but they make so much of what we want to do come to life. And I think sometimes, they don't get near enough the credit that they should, because, being able to draw a polygon on a map is something that we all expect to be able to do, but someone had to design that, and then it has to work. And I think we, just the ability to do all those things, it makes my job so much easier. And it obviously, our clients benefit from it so significantly. So shout out to the software developers in the world. And, there's my shout out.
I don't know if that
was I supposed to say Excel? Bill Gates, thank you for pivot tables.
Andy, who you want to give a special shout out to?
Oh, my mum. No, sorry. There's so many people that I can think of. I mean, I actually think that my old boss and the surveying practice I worked in for kind of making me redundant, because all of this wouldn't have happened otherwise. It kind of give me a good wake up call, and the kind of moment to really make a decision in my career. And actually, I think it's easy to just get pigeonholed and do what you think you ought to do after your degree. And I think that was actually, I know it was a very big turning point in my life, and actually kind of owned my focus, if you like. So I think I'll give him a shout out.
And what about the regrets? And you can go first. What any sort of regrets in your career? And you can obviously turn this into a positive. I hope you will. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah, of course. I mean, any difficulty that you face in your career, hopefully you can turn it into a positive and learn from it. It's actually one of the better things to happen in your life is to go through some kind of hardship and come out the other side and learn from it. I think, certainly in terms of learning and getting better at what I do, I think I wish I'd read The Challenger Sale earlier than I did. It's a fantastic book on consultative selling and really being insight-led when you are trying to engage with customers and prospects. And that we did some training on that as a sales force, and the results thereafter were pretty humongous. And it got everyone thinking more like a curious consultative salesperson, and really improved the whole dynamic across the team and the performance across the team.
Awesome. What about you, Scott? Any regrets?
I don't typically I don't look at regrets very frequently. I guess if I had to force myself, I wish I would have gotten into, the property world sooner than I did. It's something that I enjoy, and it suits me so well. And I there were 5 years at the beginning of my career that I'm like, I wish I would have been in that space sooner. But that's a minor one. I'm very, very happy with where things have ended up.
Okay, and now the final question. Okay, what are you both most excited about the future of PropTech? Andy, have you got anything you'd like to share with us on that?
Well, aside from at some point, hopefully soon, being able to go to kind of conferences and see some amazing people and amazing ideas. I think look, one thing's for sure, PropTech is going to continue to evolve, and people are going to come out with amazing ideas and amazing solutions that don't exist today that are going to help the industry continue to evolve. And that for me is like a big black box, which is exciting. And I look forward to seeing all the great ideas that come along.
Yeah, I completely echo that. And what about you, Scott?
Yeah, similar stuff. I think the rate at which technology enables things to change, like I'm so excited to see what we're going to have the ability to do next, what new things we're going to be able to deliver to our customers, and just the innovation that will come into the space that will be amazing, and then there'll be second nature. Right? It's like I've been at CoStar long enough to remember when the iPhone entered the industry. And so, the idea of apps and things like that, I can't wait to see, what's next on the horizon. And I'm sure it's going to be, virtual reality, and, people will be touring buildings, from there. Well, hopefully it won't be from their flats. Hopefully it'll be from their offices. But just the way the space will change with digital marketing and technology and all that other stuff that we don't even know is going to be there yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe aliens. I'm excited for a time when aliens. No, just kidding.
God, I was reading about something to do with building stuff. I love stuff. How loose is that? On another planet and then shipping it back to the UK. It was called something robotics. I can't remember, but I just can't really see how that could ever work. But
was it cheaper to produce the stuff on another planet?
It's produce the stuff on another planet and ship it in, but it sounds crazy.
It's going to happen though, by the way. I don't know if in our lifetime, but there will be there will be real estate on other planets at some point. I think that's got to be something that will take place, and when it does, CoStar will track it. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah. We're looking for a field researcher for that.
Oh, really?
So,
oh my God!
Maybe
Mars. I can hire someone on Pluto. Yeah. Amazing, easy. I love it. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end of the Propcast. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you both today. Listeners, we have been trying to actually record this for the last 3 months, but because of diaries and everything, we haven't quite got around to do it. So happy we managed to speak. And Andy, why don't you go first? Is there any way, what's the best way for the audience to connect with you?
Well, sure. Thank you, Louisa. It's been worth the effort to get this arranged. It's been really enjoyable. Thank you. So best way to get in touch with us at CoStar is really just through our sales channel, and we distribute that out as soon as it comes in. So if you go to sales@costar.co.uk, you'll be able to reach any of us.
Beautiful. Thank you both again. I'm looking forward to catching up with you after the show.
Lovely.
Our pleasure. If any clients out there need help with anything, please reach out as well. Always happy to assist. And for your super users, I'll take the challenge. Like Kean said, I will always be able to teach you something in the product. So happy to accept that challenge if you want to take me on that one. But I really appreciate you having us on. Sorry for the delay, but it's just how I wanted to spend my birthday. We just didn't want to break it to you beforehand.
I love it. Okay. Well, look, thanks, guys, and catch up with you in a minute.
Okay.
Right, cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Propcast, and a big thanks to our special guests. Make sure you visit our website, www.nmre.co.uk, where you can subscribe to our show, or you'll find us on iTunes and Spotify, where all good content is found. Whilst you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate if you could rate and review us on iTunes, or if you simply just spread the word, and I'll catch you later.
Hi, this is Nelson from Property Quants. I'd like to invite you to join our Introduction to Data Science and Machine Learning for Real Estate seminar. To learn more, visit propertyquants.com/seminar and use special code LMRE20 on Eventbrite for a discount.
You're listening to a Podcast Company podcast. This was made by Podcast Syndicator, where we help you go from start to grow to making money with your podcast. Let us help you share your message and your voice with the world. Reach out now, Jason at podcastsyndicator.com or Brett at podcastsyndicator.com to find out more. Thank you for listening, and do come back to hear nothing but the best podcasts.